Shalom. I want to start off by giving all praise to Yahweh Hashem Yahweh Shai, Hashem Rekoi Kudash, double honors to the apostles and elders at Great Millstone that rule well. Salutations to the hopeful elect, pushing this word of sincerity and truth on the four corners of the earth. All right, and I'm going to start in Revelations 17, 16. Revelation 17, 16. And the 10 horns which thou sawest upon the beast, these shall hate the whore, and shall make her desolate and naked, and shall eat her flesh and burn her with fire. All right, and this is a prophecy of what these nations are going to do to America. All right, the beast being NATO and the EU system. All right, the beast system, and the whore being America. All right, it says, shall make her desolate and naked, and shall eat her flesh and burn her with fire. All right, because as we know, those who know, all right, America will eventually be destroyed by thermonuclear fire. All right. Now, before I get into this article, I'm gonna give one more scripture. Obadiah 1 and 7. All the men of thy confederacy have brought thee even to the border. The men that were at peace with thee have deceived thee and prevailed against thee. They that eat thy bread have laid a wound under thee. There is none understanding in him. All right, the men that were at peace with thee have deceived thee and prevailed against thee. All right, and that's these other nations. All right, they have deceived America and will ultimately, prevail against them. All right, in this third world war. Now, it says Chinese General Taunts U.S. Our success against you in Korea 70 years ago serves as a warning to you to stop escalating tensions. Salakia. Salakia, my son with me. So like I said, Chinese General Taunts U.S. Our success against you in Korea 70 years ago serves as a warning to you to stop escalating tensions. All right, meaning we done already had success against you in war. All right, and this is the beast. All right, beginning to hate the whore, man. All right, these nations are sick of America's bullshit. All right. Now it says Tom Foudy is a British writer and analyst of politics and international relations with a primary focus on East Asia. All right, General He Lee recalls the PLA's successful expulsion of American troops from North Korea in 1950, as he warns that China will be ready for war amid growing tensions between Washington and Beijing. All right, you see, they got a spirit of war, man. All right, they're ready. All right, 70 years ago, in October 1950, Chinese troops crossed the Yalu River into Korea. Labeled the People's Volunteers, they set out to confront an imminent threat to their homeland. General Douglas MacArthur, leading a United States coalition against, I have no idea how to pronounce this, Pyongyang, had succeeded not only in thwarting Kim second Sung's bid to take the South, but sought to advance beyond the 38th parallel to terminate the DPRK altogether. It says he made no secret, Salakia. It says he made no secret about what he plans to do next. He spoke of continuing the Korean War into China and dropping a number of atomic bombs around the border to nullify Beijing's strategic influence on the neighboring peninsula. Fearing strategic encirclement and checkmate by Washington, Mao Zedong decided to intervene in the war, sending millions of troops into Korea, despite at that time being an impoverished country with an essentially peasant army. China's forces overran the UN coalition and forced them back into the South. Now he's saying they had a peasant army, a little army, and they was whooping the U.S. ass in that war, man. Imagine them now with the nuclear capability, more weapons. This is why these nations no longer feel or fear rather, America, because they got the power to fight back. And this is what's being said in this article thus far. It says the memories in Beijing of what they describe as the war to resist American aggression have not been forgotten. The successful intervention into the Korean War and the rescue of the DPRK against a far superior opponent is heralded as the symbolic end to China's century of humiliation by Western powers and newly found confidence in itself. Right, and that confidence is being, even pushed further to the limit by the Most High. Because once again, these nations ain't scared of the U.S. no more, man. They're not afraid, all right? Because they was like it said earlier in this article, they was whooping your ass with an untrained peasant army, man. Imagine them, Moabites now, all right? Says the time has elapsed since this battle. The time that has elapsed since this battle hasn't made it any less relevant. It says, relevant, rather, facing an increasingly hostile United States on the global stage. People's Liberation Army General He Lee recalled the victory of 1950 in a jibe against Washington, saying China has the will to fight and the confidence to win. And we will work hard to cultivate the will to fight, strengthen our sense of mission, responsibility, and urgency to be ready for war. Ready for war. There you go again. They ready. All right. The Mossad has equipped these nations with artillery and has put confidence on them to go against America because it's time for America to be destroyed, man. All right. It says the highly charged comments reflect the growing atmosphere of public fear as to whether these two powers will ultimately clash militarily, which they will, especially given America's escalation of tensions in the South China Sea and Taiwan Strait by ramping up military exercises. Some scholars have often spoken of the Thucydides trap, inspired by the wars between Athens and Sparta, whereby two great powers became locking in a spiraling rivalry which leads inevitably to the war, with China the rising power and U.S. the status quo. Eager to suppress Beijing's rise, one wonders what the eventual outcome will be. Shalakia. It says, whilst General Hayes' remarks were not an accident, China's leaders are by no means seeking a physical conflict with the U.S. or even an outright for hegemony. Although America's leaders constantly frame Beijing as a threat, in practice, this is misleading and is based on dated Cold War cliches and deliberate fear-mongering to manufacture consent for U.S. foreign policy, and that's what America does through its media, all right, the fear-mongering, all right? If they really wanted to go to war with China, they would, start getting at them in the media, man, all right, saying that they're a threat and all this, and, it would become world news, not just domestic news, but foreign news. And then America would go in and try to do its thing to get whatever the fuck they trying to get from China, man. All right. America has been running the same play for years, man, as far as their foreign policy, as far as, how they deal with other nations, man. All right. Beijing has no serious intention of waging a zero-sum Cold War struggle against Washington, nor does it attempt to proliferate its ideology overseas. It would much rather maintain productive ties with America and seek a stable international environment in order to secure continuing economic growth, which will not happen. All right, scriptures say when they say peace, peace, then comes sudden destruction. All right, that's all these motherfuckers, excuse my language, but that's all these nations talk about is peace, but it's been perpetual war forever. So obviously peace ain't in their heart. You know what I mean? It says, yet this isn't where we are. International relations are not about good intentions, right? A neo-realist will tell you it is the structural implications of the global system which forces states to respond to the environment. China is not seeking confirmation with the U.S., but the past few years nevertheless obliged Beijing, whether they like it or not, to respond to this environment and prepare for it. Washington is aiming to strategically encircle China's periphery through visions such as the Indo-Pacific, increasing support to Taiwan, and escalating in the South China Sea. As a result, Xi Jinping has no chance but to respond to these efforts, just as China did in Korea in 1950. Otherwise, he risks being strategically outplayed. Passivity and goodwill towards the United States won't change the situation. All right, because that's not, you can't be like that with the United States. And these nations know that now. You can't be passive. All right, you got to meet them at the door. All right, or they will come and destroy you and take all your shit. That's how they get out. All right, it says whilst General Hayes, he's opinion represents a militarist view and not one publicly spoken by China's civil leaders or civilian leaders. His appearance in the international media is not an ad hoc event or a mere coincidence. The messaging is deliberate. Beijing is not only openly looking for a fight, but what the historical legacy of the Korean War shows us is that it is prepared to do what it feels is needed in order to protect its strategic proximity. All right. So once again, we fought y'all. Speaking from the view of China, we fought y'all years ago, man. We won. I may not have won the war, but we done kicked y'all ass a little bit, and now we got more weapons. All right. It says China will continue to try to talk Washington out of its current path, but to only do such would be ignoring the military dynamic at its own peril. Therefore, whilst nobody can truly say how this growing confrontation will end, talk of a Thucydides trap ultimately matters. China is confident but cautious. All right, China's confident but cautious. All right, meaning they ready for war. All right, so going back, to the beast hating the whore. All right, NATO, and this is going to happen continually. You're going to have more nations come out and say directly that, basically we ready for war with y'all. Russia ain't giving a F about America as it pertains to war. They ain't scared. All these all these countries with nuclear capability, they're no longer afraid of America. All right, and it's showing in China. All right, but I ain't gonna hold you. I hope that video was edifying. That I'm gonna say shalom.